In this video, we're going to create the drawings for problem 1-7 and 1-10 from the AutoCAD handout. These are the remaining problems for IC1. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make drawing lines a lot easier. In the first drawing, you used mostly relative coordinates, but possibly some absolute coordinates as well. What we're going to do here is we're going to turn on our polar tracking. Polar tracking is here, and if you remember, I had you turn this off. The reason I had you turn it off is because you do want to learn how to enter coordinates directly in addition to using polar tracking. So if you just click on this, it'll light up blue, and that turns on polar tracking. So let's take a look and see what polar tracking does. I'm going to start this drawing here in the lower left-hand corner here. And I'm going to click on line, click somewhere in my drawing space. I'm going to check my numbers to where that first point is beginning, just to make sure that first point isn't starting at some crazy coordinate. It looks like I'm about 4.5 and 3, which is fine. So I click on this, and then as soon as I move over to the right, you'll see a tracking line. And this tracking line shows up as a green dotted line. And once you see that line, all you have to do is type a number and hit enter, and it will create a line of that length. So if I type 7.5 and I hit enter, it creates a line of 7.5 inches. Now I'm going to zoom this up so that it's easier for you to see, and continue the drawing on. Now in this case over here, we don't have a dimension shown, but by default, that dimension is going to be the same 3 inches we have over here. Ideally, they should have put in a dotted line to indicate that, but for whatever reason, they didn't. All right, so we come back here, and we're going to type 3. Once we get that upward tracking line and hit enter, then we're going to go over to the left. In this case, again, this dimension isn't shown, but you can see looking at the top, we have 4 1.5-inch dimensions totaling 6 inches, and the total part is 7.5. So this means that this dimension to the left has to be 1.5. I'm then going to move up, and this upward dimension is going to be, if we look over here, we see 3 and 4.75, so it has to be 1.75. So we're going to go vertically up, 1.75. We then go horizontally to the left, 1.5. Vertically down. Again, once you get the tracking line, all you have to do is type the number. So I type 1.75 and hit enter. Going to the left again. Sorry, I typed 1.75, but I needed to type 3.25. So in this case, I'm going to type U for my undo, and that takes back the last command. So now I'm going to type the proper 3.25. Now I'm going to move over to the left again, 1.5. And I'm not sure what happened there. In that case, I probably didn't have a tracking line. So again, U to undo. Make sure I have my tracking line. Type 1.5. Enter. We're going to go back up by that same 3.25. Over to the left by 1.5. Down by, again, the difference between 4.75 and 3. 1.75. And then over to the left by 1.5. And finally, we should be able to just pull this down to the point where we get the object snap point at the end point of the other line, and just hit our left mouse button to complete the drawing. We can hit escape, and then we can go ahead and save this drawing. Click save as, and I already have a 1.7, so I'm going to, or 1-7, so I'm going to save this as 1-7A. Go ahead and click save. Okay, so that drawing is done. let's move on to 1-10. 1-10 here is a little bit more complicated, and you'll see we have to go in a little bit of a roundabout way to get the dimensions. So let's just start this. I'm going to open up a new drawing, which I can do simply by hitting the plus button. So we've created drawing 3 here. And I'm going to start right here at this point. So I'm going to come down again to my lower left somewhere, click on line, get a starting point, and just start drawing. So we're going to go up by 1.1, over to the left by 1.5. Now we need to go up by a combination of 1.4, 0.875, and 0.875. You can do this in your head, but if you want to, you can go to Utilities, and under Utilities, you should be able to get a calculator, and I'm not seeing, oh, here it is. So here's a calculator. So we can click on the calculator, and that'll bring up a calculator. So we can enter 0.875 plus 0.875. Looks like we put times in for the first one. Get plus 0.875. And then we want to add an additional 1.4. And that comes out to 3.15. So we're going to drop our calculator. The one thing about the calculator, unfortunately, as you can see, it's stopped drawing. So we no longer have our line to continue from. So what we're going to do is just click on the line again and then bring it down till we get that endpoint snap location. And then we can just hit the right mouse button to start the line again. And that will start the line right at the end point. So that height going up was 3.15. So we'll put that in. So now here, first of all, let's blow this up a little bit. We can see it, and back down, set it up. We're about the size of the drawing. So now as we look at this, we see that we need to go over to the right by 1. So we'll just type 1 and hit enter. And now this next height is not shown. Now you could go over here and work your way backwards to figure out exactly what it is. But it's a lot easier to just stop making the line and go back to the drawing. We'll adjust this and move it over here. And start working your way around counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So again, I click on line. I start at the bottom here. And now I'm going to move over, we can see here, by 1.5. I type 1.5. Now I need to go back up. And again, by default and by reference, this dimension here is 1.1. So we're going to go back up by 1.1. We're going to go over by 1.5 again. We're going to come down by 1.625. We're going to go over to the right by 1.75. And now we're going to go up by 2.875. 2.875. We're going to go over to the right by 1.25. And now we're going to go up by 5.25 minus 2.875. In this case, I'm not going to open up the calculator. You can if you want to, but I'm just going to do this by hand. 5.25 minus 2.875, and we get 14.7, 1, 11, 3, 4, 2.375. So we're going to go up, type 2.375, hit enter. And before I can continue, I'm going to check this to make sure that I actually enter this correctly, and that we end up getting the right dimension. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit escape, stop my line for now. I'm going to come up here to utilities, and then go to measure. And here I'm going to set up for measure distance. I'm going to click on the end of this point here, and I'm going to click on the point down here, and we can see that the distance itself is 5.25. So we did actually create that length properly. So I'm going to hit escape to back out of that. I'm going to go back to my line, start from here. We're going to move over by 7.5 minus 7, which is 0.5. Now we're going to go down by 0.75, over to the left by 2. We're going to go up to 0.75. Now I'm going to show you a quicker way than even just typing that simple number. And what you can do is you can actually get a reference line. So if I come over here, I can pull out a tracking line from this point. And then I can slide it over until I see the vertical tracking line. And then just hit my left mouse button to put that line in. So in that case, I didn't even have to type a number. And while in this case it's pretty easy to type the number, you'll see as we move on that there will be some cases where that really helps. And we'll talk more about that feature as we move on. Okay, so anyway, so the next distance is 5 minus 4, which is 1. So we're going to type 1. Sorry, not 1. Yes, it is 1. 5 minus 4. Yep. And then we're going to go down here by 1. And then over by 2, the 4 minus 2. We're going to come up by 1. And again, I can do this. If I come over here, grab that tracking line, just slide it over. And this distance here is 1 inch. And then I should have a straight vertical line to the end point. And that completes the drawing. So this completes the videos for IC1. The videos for IC2 will be up shortly.